Pep Talk UK, Pro Beans once again. Remember, subscribe. I'm delighted to be joined by trainer David Coldwell. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Tired. You know, the whole drama of last night. I mean, I watched a bit of Katie Taylor's card and then stayed up for Terence Crawford versus Kell Brook. I couldn't miss that one.
No.
First off, I mean, what did you make of Katie Taylor last night?
I thought she was just a different level. The problem is in some of the divisions in the female game at the moment, the elite are getting very good, really competitive, good fights. But then when they step out of that elite, the unifications and things like that, then the quality is not quite there in depth. It's getting better. But I think the girl, Gutierrez, I think her name was, she just wasn't in the same league as Kay. She's mandatory, she's tough, she's unbeaten, but there's been tough and strong. But then when you talk about a difference in speed and the speed of foot, and as well as the punches, then it just makes for it to be a really, really one-sided fight. And I thought Katie looked very fresh, considering that she's had some tough fights lately, some hard fights, and fights where you look at it and you think, oh, do you know what? She's starting to show wear and tear now. I thought she looked fresh. She looked really sharp. She looked rejuvenated. She looked very, very good. But it was good. It was a good performance.
Good point, because a lot of people in the boxing forums were saying that Katie Taylor at 35 or 34, 35 is slowing down, and speed is a major attribute. Yeah. And I didn't see that. I didn't see that last night. I saw.
No, but again, that is something that can be exaggerated by the fact that the opponent is very slow-footed, slow of hand. So then Kate was never dragged into any kind of uncomfortable sort of fight, so then she didn't get ragged, so she was able to keep her sharpness all the way through. But she did look very sharp. She did look very fresh. She looked great. So it's good. It's all good. Listen, she's an absolute legend. She's been fantastic for the sport, for the sport as a whole, not just obviously what she's done for women's boxing, but she's a good ambassador for our sport. And she's a great personality. But she can fight, man, and she showed everything last night. She was very, very good.
Yeah, there's talk of Amanda Serrano up next.
I think that's the fight that people want to see, isn't it?
She can really fight. Yeah. Bassoon like, but with a bbit more.
Yeah. That is a really good fight, and that's the fight that people want to see her in now. Really, I would love to see that fight. And Katie's been a fighter that's always been seeking out the big challenges and things like that. So I'm sure she wants to see that fight. She wants that fight to happen also.
All right, Dave, I've got to ask you about Kell Brook last night. He didn't get the result. Terence Crawford proved to many people why he is P for P #1. What did you make of the result last night? Or this morning, sorry.
Listen, that's Crawford. You know, people getting a little bit excited because Kell won the first couple of rounds. These elite fighters, your Lomachenko's, your Usyk's, your Crawford's, the first couple of rounds, Crawford, a lot of his fights, the first 5 or 6 rounds are quite close. And you look at it and you think, the other guy's in it. He's having a lot of success or whatever. It's a competitive fight. And then they stretch him out. Because what they're doing in those first few rounds is they're sussing you out. They're seeing what you do well. They take it away. Seeing what works for them. What do they have to adjust in order to get expose your weaknesses that you're showing. And they work you out as they go along. And with some of these guys, the 12-round fighters, the old school mentalities is, I've got 12 rounds to get to you. I don't need to go out there and try and do everything in rounds 1 and 2 and work so hard early doors. I'll just wear you out. I'll take you to bits. And then the problem is with the elite fighters is that split second you switch off, or that slight mistake, that one mistake that you make, they capitalize on straight away. And that's what happened last night. Kell won the first 2 rounds. I thought Crawford won the 3rd round. It started going to work more. And then his adjustment for that 4th round and you saw what he did to him. You know, people saying, "Oh, it was just a jab." No, it wasn't just a jab. He chops it down. He gets the leverage in that shot that, you know, totally unhinged Kell. And obviously Kell went to pieces. His follow-up attack after the ref had given him the count, and then, you know, allowed boxing to go. His following attack, he's just brutal. He's a bad man in that ring. He's a bad man, and the finish was just, you know, it was very, very quick. Do you know what makes it even? What makes these endings really weird as well? Because there's no crowd. You don't get the celebrations, the atmosphere, stuff like that. So it's just, the fight's over. It's like, oh, and it just seems a bit awkward at the end. You know, the winner feels awkward. It's just weird without a crowd. We need crowds back desperately, but performance-wise, I thought, you know, it is Terence Crawford. There's no surprise there. But Kell did really well. We always say about Kell's timing, you know, his accuracy. Early doors is very, very good. And I expected him to be right in it after four rounds, have some success after 4 rounds. And then I thought Crawford had taken him to bits. But I didn't expect it to be as quick as that. The turnaround to be as quick as that. I thought Kell would take a bit of punishment first, and get ground down and get beat up as you know, from the mid stage 6 to 8. But I didn't expect it to be as quick as that and as abrupt as that.
Do you think Kell struggled at all with the switch hitting of Terence Crawford? Because when he switched
no, listen, Kell's grown up in the Ingle gym. Every fighter in that setup, he's been there since he was like 9 years old. He was with me for a few years, but he's been in that setup for since he was a kid. He's used to people switching. He's used to different styles, awkwardness, things like that. Kell's always, you can't switch this both ways. Look at Kell's record, and we always talk about, and he talks about, he loves to fight a southpaw, because all the southpaws that he faces, apart from Errol Spence, he's done a good job on. You know, you look at that run that he had. I think he had a run where he was fighting southpaw. Southpaw doesn't bother him. But it's the quality of the fighter. And the quality of the fighter in Terence Crawford is, you're talking elite. You're talking a throwback mentality. You know, you're talking about a guy that when he does get hit, he doesn't fall to pieces. He doesn't start having doubts in himself. Okay, just carry on. You know, some fighters that are used to being on top all the time, the minute they start getting it back, you see a demeanor shift in them. Crawford just makes adjustments. He just makes adjustments, and he carries on with his work. He knows what he wants to do to you, and he'll make the adjustments in order to get that to happen. But southpaw stance, Kell's used to that. That can't be an excuse because he switched southpaw. Everybody knows that Crawford normally boxes as a southpaw. He came out as orthodox for the first couple of rounds, switched, but he has that in that gym day in, day out. You know, he's had that growing up. So no, but it's the quality of the fight. It's the quality of the southpaw that he faced. That's what the difference was.
Yeah, you know, because a lot of people prior to the fight were talking about the size being a factor. I mean, we saw that with Lopez and Lomachenko. Size actually did matter, but people forgot that Crawford has beaten Kavaliauskas, stocky sort of guy, similar to Kell Brook in terms of frame. Jeff Horn as well, when he won the welterweight title as well. So size didn't matter at all. Like you said, it's the quality of the fighter. And we're talking of a fight at the highest order.
So a lot was made about the size, and Kell himself was talking a lot about the size once he refuels and things like that. But you talk about elite level fighters, and when you talk about Lopez and Lomachenko, Lopez is an elite level fighter as well, right? A great talent, a very, very good fighter, very, very good fighter. Lomachenko, a very, very good fighter. When there's two fighters that are both, you know, you're going in there. Before that, we didn't expect Lopez to do what he did in a boxing sense with Lomachenko, but we always talked about his strength, his power. That's a big danger for Lomachenko. But when you talk about somebody that's on a similar sort of ability, on a similar sort of mentality and intellect in the ring, you can't give away size and reach and physicality like that on somebody that's on a similar sort of level. But when you're fighting somebody that's not on your level in the package sense, then yes, you can give away that because the quality will come through unless you get caught with that one punch or whatever. But the quality will come through, and that's what you saw last night. Crawford's a better all-round fighter. You know, he's a premier, he's an elite level boxer. You know, he's not in the pound for pound, whether you call him 1, 2, or 3. He's not in the pound for pound list by a fluke. Look at what he did at lightweight. Look at what he did at like welterweight. Look at now what he's doing at welterweight. He's doing it as a repeated pattern. And you know, Kell's a very good fighter, a very talented fighter. He's got great assets, but is he an elite level fighter? No, he's not. So Crawford wasn't bothered about that sort of size difference and that sort of strength. You know, he just took it away from him, and he made sure that his assets were implemented on the fight.
No dominant angle in the corner. Was that a factor on the night? Would it have been different?
No, I don't believe on the night. I don't believe on the night it was. I don't believe on the night it was, but when you're talking about preparation, when you're talking about the whole setup and everything, was it a factor? Yeah, it could have been. Could that have made a difference between winning and losing? I don't think so. I always, you know, I talk to the lads in the gym, you know, to other people. I always said for the first 4 rounds, I thought Kell would be in it, and Kell's chance there was the early doors, first 4 rounds. You know, if he could get to use his, he's got very, very good timing, and Crawford does get hit, and if he could have an impact on Crawford in those first few rounds, that was his chance. But once it goes past 4 or 5 rounds with Kell, then I always felt that Crawford would then start chewing him up, regardless of who was in his corner. But you've got to... Dominic Ingle knows him inside out. He knows him inside out. You know, he's been with him for years and years and years. And he knows his style. He knows how to get the best out of him. When you're going to this sort of fight of this sort of magnitude, and the guys around you, and I'm not knocking them, but I'm talking about as a fighter. I kind of get the impression that where Kell's trying to show bravado and be confident, even with his teammates, even with the people around him. But there's times when you have doubts as a fighter. Every fighter has doubts. And you have to be comfortable with the people that you're with, that you can sit them down and say, you know, do you know what? What about this? I don't feel great in this. If you got, I don't know this relationship that he's got with his team that he's got now, but if you don't feel comfortable enough to be able to open yourself up to show weakness to your team, then you're just papering over the cracks. And then mentally, that's something else that is a added pressure when you walk into that ring, you know. But you need to be able to talk to your coach and say, I feel vulnerable when I throw this. I feel this. You know what I mean? You need to have them conversations, because by talking to somebody, they can give you an answer and explain and perhaps give you a reasoning or a solution that eases your frame of mind, that helps you perform better when you get in the ring. Now, I don't think that ultimately that would have made any difference in this fight anyway, but you know, I just think the quality of and the relationship of what Kell had with the Ingles and with the setup, I just think it fit for him. But it is what it is. You know, ultimately it makes no difference to what we're talking about now.
For you, does this mean that it's bye-bye for Kell Brook? Should he call time on his career?
It's none of my business to say that to him. He's a big enough, old enough man to make that decision himself. What I'll say is, if he was to turn around and say, "That's me done, I've had a great career," I'd say, "Wicked, well done, mate. Enjoy your retirement." Because I think now his time's passed. Every fighter has a window, and I just think I think maybe stay. You know, the 147 thing is a big thing. I've said for a long time that he's too big for that division. I don't care what people look like on scales. On scales, you're on that weight for X amount of time. That's it. But you have to perform. You have to perform once you've dragged your body down to that weight. You have to be able to go in there and perform. But it's not just perform. You have to be able to absorb as well. This is boxing. You know, this isn't, oh, we're making a weight so we can ride an horse or whatever you want to do. You know, so I can look good in my clothes. This is you're bringing the weight down to hit a weight to then be able to perform. 30 hours later, yes, you can refuel all you want, but what have you taken away from yourself to make that weight? You know, and it's just that slight punch resistance that can be affected by the dropping of weight. You know, you can just not be quite as resilient as what you once was. So you know, I don't think 147 helped him, but ultimately, I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him walk away, but none of my business. And he'll do what he wants to do. He'll obviously talk it through with his team and see what they want to do. But he's secured his family. You know, he's had a great career. And the only losses he's had are against elite fighters.
Yeah.
Mate, that's how many fighters would love to end the career being able to say that? Only the best beat him, you know? And he always a good win over Sean Porter. Let's not forget that as well.
And a lot of people struggled with Sean Porter. They couldn't tame him.
Sean Porter's a very, very good fighter. So, you know, he went over to America and won a world title in America. It's great. It's a great achievement. Can't take that away from him. You know, he's been world champion. Can't take that away from him. He's headlined arenas. Can't take that away from him. He's had a great career. It's just, you know, it's just that not everybody's destined to be a superstar, unified, pound for pound world champion. You know, Kell has been world champion. You know, he has been a headline fighter. He's had a great career. So, do I think he can match that again if he was to carry on? Do I think he can match that? No, I don't. So then, do I think that he should carry on? No, because then what is he? Is he a name for somebody else that's coming through? I wouldn't want to see Kell Brook as a name for somebody else coming through. But ultimately, it's his decision, and he'll do what he wants to do. But if he did carry on, he certainly can't carry on at 147. Certainly, you know, if he carries on, then he's got to go up. And who's at 154? Can he be involved in some good fights at 154? Certainly, yeah. But does his body still, you know, can it take the punishment, and can he mentally go through all that still? So I don't know.
On the basis of what you're seeing, is Terence Crawford, is he the man ahead of Errol Spence Jr.? Would he beat Errol Spence?
I think so. We have this debate again. We talk in the gyms, and obviously with your mates on your text messages and WhatsApps. I think Crawford beats Spence. Yes, I do.
Okay. Finally, Dave, before you go, the announcement: Dave Allen, retirement.
Yeah, I saw that earlier on. Yeah, big. Well, yeah, because I was at a show, you know, a week or two ago, and he was supposed to be fighting then, you know. But he, I'm glad he's had an hard career. You know, he's give everything to the sport. Yeah, in terms of toughness and willing to face anybody. So yeah, I saw that he says he's basically retiring because he don't want to get punched in the head anymore. Great reason. That's all the reason that you need. You know, I think he's probably seen now he's coaching kids. He'll have that buzz. He's got that little path after boxing, so he hasn't got the doubts thinking, what am I going to do? You know, he knows exactly what he wants to do now going forward, away from the sport, from competing as a fighter. So yeah, I'm glad he's got that path set in front of him, and I wish him all the best going forward, because he is a tough man, and he's took a lot of hammer. So look after yourself now and enjoy life outside the ropes. And I saw his last line. I think he's going to enjoy eating plenty and getting fat. So all the best to him.
All right, Dave. It's been a pleasure as always, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks for your time. Pep Talk.
Nice one, mate.
Dave Coldwell. Thank you. Subscribe.